Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Culture Shock, the show reminding you that government does not solve all of your problems. And I think that the idea that people believe that government was put in place to solve all of our problems is why we're here today. Listen, government doesn't solve problems. If anybody from the government says that I'm here to help, that should be a red flag right away. Government is not designed to take care of you, it's not designed to help you, is not designed to do any of that. The government was put in place for three very specific reasons. Reason number one, to protect your individual rights that were given to you by God. Number two, to protect others from imposing on those rights. And number three, to protect the rights of you and everyone else, and the government is not allowed to impose on those rights. But ever since the inception of the Declaration of Independence and the miraculous thing called the Constitution that keeps the government in check, a lot of our rights have been imposed on a lot. And I mean a lot. And that's where we're at today. This is why we are here, because no one knows the full functions of government or what it was put in place to do. Government, our specific government, the United States of America, was actually created to counter the monarchy of England. That's what it was in. That was what it was created to do. But do you think people come here from actual oppressed countries because they want to get away and have their individual rights protected under Constitution and by the Declaration of Independence? But see, people are under the impression that rights are given to you by the government because they have no sense of God. They have no sense of the divine. They have nothing bigger than themselves, and they believe that the almighty, all-powerful government is supposed to save you, that is supposed to keep you healthy, that is supposed to pay for everything and protect you. That's not what government is. And this is why we're seeing the massive censorship of a lot of conservatives right now, and why the government is trying to impeach Donald Trump a second time when he has less than a week left in office. Doesn't make sense. Why even go through that? But let me just get the normal formalities out of the way. Please like and subscribe to this video. A lot of you have been asking me to do a lot more of these videos, and this is what I'm doing. So this is for you. So if you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. I do read all the comments, and I do engage with everybody who leaves a comment, good or bad. All right. So just keep that in mind. Also, if you can't watch the YouTube version, go ahead and check out the podcast of this, The Red Conservative Culture Shock, on anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Do it pretty soon because they're censoring conservatives, and I might be next, even though I don't have that big of a following. But hey, it's up to you guys. Go ahead and check that out. Last but not least, I am trying to make the push for conservative content creators to get the limelight that they need, because we are being silenced. The left dominates the media, Hollywood, news, TV, video games, whatever you call it. They dominate the culture right now, and it's up to us as conservatives, as Americans, to be able to take back that culture and reinsert ourselves back into society, which is why I'm initiating support conservative content creators. We are the content creators who don't want to insert SJW identity politics into our work. We want to just be able to tell stories and be able to give you guys a sigh of relief after every day that we're bombarded with this mental gymnastics full of nonsense. So with that being said, please, if you haven't, go check out my latest project, Ultima, The Legend Untold. You can find that on webtoons, completely free. You can read it, and I will be updating that weekly every Sunday. So please enjoy that. I worked really hard on it. It was my response to the whole COVID pandemic and giving people something a little bit more exciting to look forward to every week. So I will be updating that weekly. I'm working hard on it continuously every single day, and I hope you guys do enjoy it. And let me know what you think. Leave a like and a heart, and of course, subscribe to the Webtoons. You can find that in the description in this video down below. So please take advantage of that. Thank you. Now, going forward, Democrats have released articles of impeachment, and I don't understand why. Like, what's the point? I don't get it. He has less than a week left in office. Joe Biden has been certified as the next president of the United States of America. He will be inaugurated January 20th. So I don't understand why they're bringing forth these articles of impeachment. But when you understand how these people work, how the Democrats work, listen, the attack on the Capitol, I'm going to say this straight up. I don't condone it. I actually condemn any kind of riots that ensue, violent riots. I don't approve. That goes for what happened in various cities over the summer. and that goes for what happened last week at the Capitol building. I don't condone it. However, when you ostracize people for their political beliefs for 4 years, at some point, there's going to be a pushback. Now, people are saying that this was because Trump told them to, and then we'll get into that later. And this is actually due to because people were upset about the election. Yeah, we were upset about the election. We don't believe that the allegations of voter irregularities and voter fraud was actually investigated thoroughly. So a lot of people are going to be upset. In fact, a lot of people have lost faith in our election system. So a lot of people were upset. But when you call people these names, these racists, these bigots, these white supremacist notions, because someone disagrees with your political opinion, this is what happens. People push back. So as I don't condone what happened on Wednesday, but I fully understand why that happened. People are tired. People don't want to be called these ifs and these random things like white supremacist or bigot or homophobe because they disagree with you politically. There's a lot more that goes into it besides someone being racist, besides someone being sexist or whatever you want to call them. Why don't you talk to these people and understand their point of view before you ostracize them because they support a particular political candidate? All of this is coming from the left. Now, people don't want to try to point out that people did just because Trump directly told them to. That's not what he said. Again, the media is lying to you. That's not what he said. What he said was march to the Capitol and protest peacefully.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
That is what he said. Now, you can't control what other people do. I can't control what other people do. If you're listening to this video and then by some stroke of fate, you decide to go burn down a bank, am I responsible for that? No, I never told you to go burn down a bank. I told you that you should probably speak up for yourself and make your voices heard. Nowhere in that line did I ever say go burn down a bank. That is left up to the person who is responsible for burning down that bank. So now they're trying to impeach Trump because he incited violence. But what about all the other times the Democrats incited violence? They've been doing it for 4 years. In fact, the Daily Wire, the Ben Shapiro show, actually threw together this montage of all the Democrats and everybody on the left inciting violence. Take a listen.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face.
It's pretty clear what they're trying to do. Now, I believe that all sides are responsible, okay? Republicans, Democrats, anybody who's not politically affiliated. If you're an American, we all have some type of blame to go around. As a country, as a people, as a society, we all have blame to go around. But the left is all about blaming the right without taking full responsibility for what they've been doing for the last 4 years. There are cities that have been burned: Kenosha, Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, places that have been destroyed because they instigated these riots and told them that these people should not let up. My last video had Kamala Harris on tape saying that on a Colbert show. These people should not let up. Their voices should be heard. That's what she said. But see, no one is taking responsibility for that on the left. And you're going to see a lot of this going on going forward because a lot of conservatives are being silenced because of this. A lot of people have been kicked off of platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. A lot of people have been kicked off. Well, Parler has actually been shut down. And I think the CEO of Parler is suing Google and Amazon and Apple for that defamation. And hopefully they win and get their money back so they can reopen Parler. Because I don't understand. If you don't like free speech, you're telling people that you can't say what they want. Fine. We go over here and we create a platform in which we can freely say what we want. And you guys want to shut it down? That doesn't make sense. There's a reason why they're forcing us to wear masks, because it's a subtle nuance of oppression of the attack on free speech. That is exactly what this is. You should be able to say whatever it is you want to say. If I don't like it, I don't have to listen. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen. That's the way this society should work, but it's not. It is not. So let me just kind of sort of put it in perspective for you guys really quick. Let's say that you are planning an attack, right? And before the internet and all this stuff was created, you had to kind of what? You have to plan it out via maybe snail mail, or you have to do it over the phone, right? Now, let's say that attack was successful. You blew up something, boom, it happened. Is AT&T, the phone provider, responsible for that attack because you use their services to plan it out? No. Is the U.S. Postal Service responsible for you helping plan out that attack because you use their services to send letters to your other people? No, it is not. So are people like Parler, why are platforms like that being shut down because they're accused of inciting violence? Listen, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all these social media, they're not private companies anymore. They receive tax subsidies from us, technically, from the government. So they're not private anymore. I can understand if Twitter was private. They have private policies that they need to adhere to. If you can't say anything, fine. But when you accept tax subsidies from the government in order for you to operate, then you're no longer a private company. This isn't how that's not how this works. You can't condemn people for what they may say. Okay. If you're going to shut down one side, then you have to shut down the other. And that's the problem, is that loads of just nastiness goes on Twitter. There's child porn. I've had people with penises as a profile picture, like tweets. You mean to tell me you're getting rid of people who are spouting QAnon conspiracy theories, but you're not handling the people who are gradually showing their genitals online? There needs to be some type of standard here. And this is a huge double standard. So as a conservative, mostly libertarian, but conservative libertarian, if you want to go that route, I'm here to tell you guys that, at some point, we're going to go off and create our own thing. And you can call it whatever you want, but we're just tired of being ostracized because we don't think the same way. None of us want to comply with these leftist ideologies that you keep on trying to stuff down our throats. We just want to be left alone and be treated like individuals. I'm a black dude, but I don't want you coming at me saying, oh, you're a black dude. I want you to come at me and say by my name and who I am, not what I appear to identify as. And a lot of us feel the same way. So please, ladies and gentlemen, this is me speaking out to you. It's time to fight back against the culture war. And I mean that in the most peaceful way possible. But if someone decides to go blow up a bus, that's not my fault. That is the person who needs to be held accountable for that crime, all right, and should be arrested. Again, people are being arrested for the violence at the Capitol. They are. People are trying to compare this to the riots over the summer. If it was Black Lives Matter that broke into the Capitol, you can understand that there would be a bigger police presence. No. Because I think you must have forgotten, but over the summer, the police were told to stand down. As a result, they were defunded and people died. People lost their businesses. Property was destroyed and cities burned. Okay? There was no police present at those protests over the summer. There was a police presence here, but the mayor of Washington, D.C., Marion Bowser, told them to stand down too. There wasn't enough police presence there to maintain it. Okay? So that's what happened. If you don't believe me, go read it, okay? But I'm sick and tired of people using race as a crutch to prove a point. That's not a valid argument anymore, and it's getting really old and played out, and people need to go and start to figure things out for themselves. There are a lot more contributing factors in why the country is the way it is today, and it has nothing to do with race or oppression. It has to do with people not knowing how government is supposed to function. They don't know what it's supposed to do. Calvin Coolidge, president of the United States, saying that if government were to just simply not exist one day, it would take a large amount of time for people's daily lives to be affected. That's the way it should be. Government should not have a say in what you should do and how you should do it and where your money should go. And this is where we're at today. Government doesn't do that. Government does three things: protects your individual rights, keep others from imposing on those rights, and making sure that your rights are protected and the government does not impose on your rights. Very simple, folks. All right, I'm going to end this video here. If you guys like what you hear, please like and subscribe to the channel. Please enjoy the content. And if you haven't checked out my webtoons manga, Ultima, The Legend Untold, be sure to give that a go and leave a like and a heart. And of course, subscribe to the webtoons page. Again, we need to prop up awesome storytelling from conservative content creators. We need to give them people like me and people like you who are listening, a way for their voices and their stories to be heard. If we let the left dominate the culture, then we've lost. We need to take back the culture. We need to reinsert ourselves back into society and let people know that everything that we do as not just conservatives, but as Americans, is for everybody. My stories are for everyone. You can go and enjoy it. I really don't care if you like it or not. If you don't like it, maybe it wasn't for you. But if you do like it, let me know, because I would really like to know your thoughts. All right, guys, Real at Heroic Studios, over and out. You guys enjoy yourselves, and please try not to burn anything down or start another civil war. I'll see you next time.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the troubling events of the past week. As I have said, the incursion of the U.S. Capitol struck at the very heart of our republic. It angered and appalled millions of Americans across the political spectrum. I want to be very clear. I unequivocally condemn the violence that we saw last week. Violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement. Making America great again has always been about defending the rule of law, supporting the men and women of law enforcement, and upholding our nation's most sacred traditions and values. Mob violence goes against everything I believe in and everything our movement stands for. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement or our great American flag. No true supporter of mine could ever threaten or harass their fellow Americans. If you do any of these things, you are not supporting our movement, you are attacking it, and you are attacking our country. We cannot tolerate it. Tragically, over the course of the past year, made so difficult because of COVID-19, we have seen political violence spiral out of control. We have seen too many riots, too many mobs, too many acts of intimidation and destruction. It must stop. Whether you are on the right or on the left, a Democrat or a Republican, there is never a justification for violence. No excuses, no exceptions. America is a nation of laws. Those who engaged in the attacks last week will be brought to justice. Now I am asking everyone who has ever believed in our agenda to be thinking of ways to ease tensions, calm tempers, and help to promote peace in our country. There has been reporting that additional demonstrations are being planned in the coming days, both here in Washington and across the country. I have been briefed by the U.S. Secret Service on the potential threats. Every American deserves to have their voice heard in a respectful and peaceful way. That is your First Amendment right. But I cannot emphasize that there must be no violence, no law-breaking, and no vandalism of any kind. Everyone must follow our laws and obey the instructions of law enforcement. I have directed federal agencies to use all necessary resources to maintain order. In Washington, D.C., we are bringing in thousands of National Guard members to secure the city and ensure that a transition can occur safely and without incident. Like all of you, I was shocked and deeply saddened by the calamity at the Capitol last week. I want to thank the hundreds of millions of incredible American citizens who have responded to this moment with calm, moderation, and grace. We will get through this challenge just like we always do. I also want to say a few words about the unprecedented assault on free speech we have seen in recent days. These are tense and difficult times. The efforts to censor, cancel, and blacklist our fellow citizens are wrong, and they are dangerous. What is needed now is for us to listen to one another, not to silence one another. all of us can choose by our actions to rise above the rancor and find common ground and shared purpose. We must focus on advancing the interests of the whole nation, delivering the miracle vaccines, defeating the pandemic, rebuilding the economy, protecting our national security, and upholding the rule of law. Today, I am calling on all Americans to overcome the passions of the moment and join together as one American people. Let us choose to move forward united for the good of our families, our communities, and our country. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.